It's about people, performance, and purpose.
We are urging all nations to recognize the inherent right of the ocean.
Ocean governance concerns every one of us.
Take what you learned today with you. We have the tools, we have the technology.
Let's end the ocean emergency.
Mas nós fazemos parte desse ambiente.
Our life source comes from the ocean, our oxygen, our water, our food.
Welcome to the Ocean Race Summit.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Please come and make your way over to the seats. You're more than welcome to bring food with you if you'd like, but we'd love for you to join us up at the front here. Thank you all so much. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Ocean Race Summit Aarhus. It is such a pleasure to be here. On behalf of the entire Ocean Race family, we're truly thrilled to be here for the first time in the city of Aarhus and the city of smiles. A very special welcome to our honorable guests today, including Mayor Jakob Budsgaard, Minister Nikolai Vammen, board member of the EU Mission Healthy Oceans, Starfish 2030, Gesine Meisner, and the Ocean Race chairman, Richard Brisius, and of course to all of our sailors and friends of the ocean. Welcome. I'm Danny Washington, and I'll be your host this afternoon, and it's my distinct honor and pleasure to be here with you. So this is one of many in our series of Ocean Race Summits that have taken place all over the world, thanks to our partners, 11th Hour Racing, who are also a premier partner of the Ocean Race and the co-founder of the Sustainability Program. And special thanks to Volvo Cars for our standing premier partner. They've been with us for a very long time. They've traveled the globe with us for the past 20 years, and we really appreciate Volvo Cars. I've been hosting the Ocean Race Summits since 2020, and while we were here for a flyby during the 2017-2018 edition, this is our very first stopover in Aarhus, and my first time in Denmark. I have to say, this is such a beautiful country, and we're really grateful to be here in the Aarhus International Sailing Center, which is the absolute perfect venue for this summit. I mean, look at this view. It's gorgeous, and we're just really grateful to be here. So one of the other things that I appreciate about Denmark very much is that the progressive stance on environmental preservation has been here for a long time. Back in 1971, Denmark established a Ministry of Environment and was one of the first countries in the world to implement an environmental protection law, which was very special in 1973. That also happened to be the same exact year, 50 years ago, when the Ocean Race began. And of course, back then it was known as the Whitbread Race. So beginning in 2015, the Ocean Race Summits have happened all over the world, and around 2020, it's been an honor for me to serve as the host for this amazing event. And what I've loved most about the Ocean Race Summits is that we've built a global community of people who deeply care about the future of our ocean. And we're aligned with the idea of protecting what remains and restoring the place that covers 71% of our planet. The question is, how do we successfully achieve the vision of ocean protection? And what are the cutting-edge solutions that will accelerate us toward a just and equitable future that we all need and deserve? To give you a bit of background about myself, I was born and raised in Miami, Florida in the US, and my childhood was filled with many memories near the beach with my family, and I had ample opportunity to connect with the ocean in a very personal way. I'm so grateful to my parents who prioritized our time at the beach, and that was very much influenced by my Jamaican heritage. And beyond hosting these Ocean Race Summits, I work as a television presenter, ocean advocate, and science communicator, sharing stories of adventure as well as innovation connected to nature. After studying marine biology at the University of Miami a few years ago, more than a few years ago, I became aware that our fate as human beings truly relies on the health of our ocean planet. And we're currently in the midst of a very critical juncture where we can change history, right? And change the future. And the question is, what will it take for all of us to help and protect the ocean that we love so much? And how can we use our voices to speak up for the ocean and move toward recognizing the inherent rights of the ocean? The Ocean Race has been a leader in seeking the answer to those exact questions. And today's summit is focused on sharing viable solutions for improving ocean health, energizing real ocean action, and fortifying commitments, both personally and globally, that will ensure a more regenerative future for all. So, a couple of quick important notes before we move forward. First of all, toilets are located near the front where you entered by the sliding glass doors. We also have water available in the back at any time that you need, and also we kindly request that you silence your cell phones throughout the program so that we can continue. Excellent. Well, with no further ado, I'd love to jump in. To get the afternoon program started, I'm pleased to invite to the stage the Mayor of Aarhus, Jakob Budsgaard, to the stage to kick off our summit. Please give a warm welcome to Mayor Budsgaard.
Thank you, and first of all, a very warm welcome to the city of Aarhus. I've hoped you sort of settled in and we'll have some great days here. It's an honor for the city of Aarhus to host the Ocean Race, not least because it gives us an opportunity to have this summit. And for a nation of seafarers where we, through thousands of years, have been living by, with, on and off the sea, it's very important for us to have this opportunity to dive into some of the many aspects of how we can preserve our marine life better than we are doing today. So thank you for this opportunity. We have, although we have a very long tradition for having environmental policies, the same issue here in the Bay of Aarhus that we have in all of the oceans across the entire globe. We are experiencing a marine life that is under pressure, that the quality of our biodiversity is in really poor health, that the pressure for our oceans, on our oceans, are at a level where we need to take action. So one of the things that we've been doing in Aarhus is that we have gathered all the cities and municipalities surrounding the Bay of Aarhus and the western part of the sea, 620 kilometers coastline, represented in a joint effort to make the necessary investments, to make an effort to limit the washing out of different entities into the sea. One of the things that we'll be doing here in the city of Aarhus is invest in, it's a billion kroner investment in a new wastewater facility, because we know that will greatly improve the health of the Aarhus Bay. So even though this is a very small contribution to the total health of our oceans, this is also a heartfelt ambition to adopt the rights of the oceans, and also to make every citizen aware of our responsibility. It can be difficult to see what is underneath the surface of the water, but I think we all have an intrinsic understanding that it's important, and we need to make the necessary investments in order to make sure that the health of our oceans are better. On top of that, we have put forward policies that is in the middle of being implemented towards a goal of climate neutrality by 2030 in the city of Aarhus. This is not an easy task. It's very ambitious, and since 2008, where we set the policy goal, we have reached about half of the way towards CO2 neutrality. But all the difficult things are left. So we really need to push forward. And this obviously also is very important for the health of our oceans, because the increased temperature is really putting pressure on our marine life, and also changing our marine life also here in Denmark and in Aarhus and in our bay right out here. we need to do that together with a lot of partners, and therefore we've created partnerships with our local businesses, because over 90% of what is still needed in order to reduce the last 50% of CO2 emissions is something that is outside our own reach, something that we cannot decide on in the city council, something that we need partners in order to reach. And luckily, the businesses, small, medium-sized, large businesses, are all engaged in reaching this target. So I'm very happy that you're all here, and that we can use the Ocean Race also to put focus on the ocean health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Butsko. And we really appreciate your time and insight, and we're excited to see more of the sustainability efforts happening here in Aarhus, and hopefully other cities will follow your lead. As we navigate our way toward a regenerative future, we need strong leadership amongst policymakers, but also business leaders. And I'm pleased to introduce our next esteemed speaker, who is a catalyst for this type of change. Please welcome to the stage the Ocean Race Chairman, Richard Brisius.
So pleased, and as Danny said, the best part of this is, of course, being so close to the ocean, because everything in life starts from the ocean and ends with the ocean. And Finance Minister Nikolai Halvøy-Vammen and Mayor Jacob Bundsgaard, Excellencies, Friends of the Ocean, a warm welcome to this Ocean Race Summit in Aarhus. And I'm truly grateful to our host, the city of Aarhus, and the entire Aarhus community for creating this extremely wonderful, warm and welcoming atmosphere that we already experienced in only a few days here in Aarhus. And this is, as was marked, the first stopover of the Ocean Race in Denmark since the beginning of the race 50 years ago in 1973. And 1973 marked an important point, as you said, Denmark being one of the first countries to create the Environmental Protection Act. But Denmark truly keeps inspiring also today and for the future, being a country with fewer than 6 million citizens. Denmark truly plays an outsized role in the world stage when it comes to sustainable development and the fight for human rights, which we will learn today is closely interlinked with ocean rights. And for sure, I speak on behalf of the whole Ocean Race family when I say that we hope this first stopover in Aarhus is the start of a new tradition for the coming 50 years. Let's see. But today we are truly fortunate to come together here at this amazing Aarhus International Sailing Center, and we are here for the benefit of the ocean. And I truly look forward to all of us here doing our very best over the coming 2-3 hours to contribute to a healthier ocean. That's why we are here. And since 1973, the Ocean Race has been a race for teams, racing around the world, held every 4 years. It's a race where East meets West and North meets South, over 33,000 nautical miles of wonderful ocean. And the Ocean Race is very much about people, it's about performance, and it's about purpose. And our purpose is to motivate people to do the extraordinary to restore ocean health. And we don't see the ocean as a dividing area. The ocean is a common area for the whole of mankind and for the whole nature. And sport, and we have great representatives here from the sport in Denmark, which we are honored to have. And we all know that sport in general, and in our case, around the world racing in particular, has a unique ability to bring people together across the world and to promote good values such as trust and care and always doing our best for ourselves and for the world we live in together. And talking of sport, let me start here a little bit by acknowledging the achievements by the crew members on the leg they just finished coming across from Newport to Aarhus. And this leg across the Northern Atlantic for the history books. And not only was there incredible tight racing, and there were 24-hour distant records broken, not only once, but twice. But above all, this was a really tough leg. This is the reason why the Ocean Race is called the toughest test of a team in sport. Because what we heard, and Mayor Jacob and I, we were down on the dock at 5 a.m. on Monday morning to meet it was a great start to the week, right? To meet the sailors as they came in. And they said one after another, it was probably the hardest leg I ever done in this race. And I'm used to hear the ghosts. And then I went to someone I really know and spoke, a soft-spoken legend on the dock. And I asked, but everyone says it's so hard. How hard was this leg really on a scale from 1 to 10? 20, she said. So there we got it. It was, and you can talk to the sailors later on here today what made it so hard. But importantly, first across the finish line was 11th Hour Racing Team, and it was the second consecutive victory in a row. So I think we should have a big hand of applause for the 11th Hour Racing Team for pulling off another victory. Now, at the Ocean Race, we are all ocean people. We respect the ocean, and we passionately do our best with the means we have in our hands to contribute to our healthier ocean. And in our Racing with Purpose program, which we have founded together with 11th Hour Racing, we are focusing on improving ocean science, in increasing and improving ocean literacy. We're taking concrete climate action, and importantly, we are working to recognize the inherent rights of the ocean. And then what is this? Well, to have an ocean rights perspective in discussions and decision making means that we in a very natural way will be linking our policies to the fundamentals of our history and our future. And with an ocean rights perspective, we will make better decisions for future generations. And by always asking ourselves, what is best for the ocean? We will base our decisions on the reality that as humans, we are merely one out of many, many species on this planet. And we are intimately interconnected with nature as a species. And where the ocean is the powerhouse, with the ocean as the mothership of nature. But now, the ocean is in a state of emergency. Nearby example is the Baltic Sea. It's one of the worst polluted parts of the ocean in the world. In my home country, Sweden, which has a long, long border to the Baltic Sea, the authorities direct young people and pregnant women to not eat certain fish species fished from the Baltic Sea because of poison pollution. 5 months ago, at the Ocean Race Summit in Cape Verde, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres proclaimed, "Ending the ocean emergency is a race we must win. And working as one, it's a race we can win." Now, yesterday I went by the Aarhus University up here, and it's one of the world's top universities. And this reminded me that I've been told that we know more about the surface of Mars than we know about the depths of the ocean. And the Ocean Race, we are a partner of the IUC UNESCO, and we are supporting the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science launched in 2021. And this was, United Nations Decade of Ocean Science was launched in order to get a better understanding of the ocean system and deliver science-based solutions to make the right decisions to achieve the 2030 agenda, and not the least the SDG 14, life below water. And being here in the university city of Aarhus, it is fitting that on the agenda today, we have a truly interesting panel focusing on data from the ocean, including Romain Troublier, who are here with your Terra project and the wonderful expedition vessel you have. And you're also closely linked to the biotherm sailing team, which we will welcome in here in a couple of days, who are still out racing. So I just encourage you all here to engage, listen, and think carefully, because you will get an opportunity to expand your understanding of other people's perspective. I'm not vouching for that everything that is said is being right, but by understanding perspectives, you can be a better leader, you can make sharper decisions towards restoring a healthy planet and a healthy through a healthy ocean. And in closing, great authors, they can sum up everything in a few words, unlike me, I shall add. And one of them is the great Danish author Karen Blixen. And she did this in writing, "The cure for anything is salt water, sweat, tears, or the sea." So let us remember that. The cure for anything is salt water. Thank you. and very welcome, and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.
Great. So the One Blue Voice campaign is building fantastic momentum. We've taken this mission around the world so far throughout the race and beforehand, and we still need your help. All of you in this room can be a part of this. And right here is a QR code that you can scan with your smartphone, and you can sign the petition and join us to restore the ocean. Every single voice counts. So far, we've reached over 24,000 signatures, and our goal of 50,000 by September is still a real goal, and we need your help. It only takes a few minutes of your time, and it has the potential to create huge impact. Next, we're honored to have this featured speaker with us here today. He is the former mayor of Aarhus and the current Minister of Finance for Denmark. Please welcome Nicola Vammen. I'm going to stay up here to make sure I greet you. This is the way we should do it. Thank you very much for being here.
Mr. Race Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Minister, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege and also an honor to be here today in the beautiful city of Aarhus, celebrating what is an integrated part of not only this city's heritage and cultural experience, but a part of all Danes, because we feel so connected to the ocean. It's not only a fairy tale about Vikings, or for that matter, Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid. It is a real relationship which every Dane carries with his or her life. Some will sail the ocean, some will work on the ocean, some will fish on the ocean, and some will just have a leisure time with the ocean. But as it has been said a few times today, as humans, we are here for one brief, shining moment, while the ocean has been here always and will remain here always. What we have not been very good at has been protecting this very ocean. And therefore, looking at its beauty, we also must recognize the huge and awesome responsibility that lies upon all of us. And therefore, I so happily welcome not only the courageous people of the Ocean Race Summit, and I understand it has been a very tough leg coming to Aarhus, but the whole spirit behind this initiative, because you bring attention to a very worthy cause, and you can make real change. And that is what this is all about. Today we are celebrating the world's toughest offshore race. It's a tribute to human courage, but also, and maybe even more so, to the wonder of our nature, more specifically our oceans. And we are here to preserve them and to protect them. And Aarhus is a fitting place to do so, because as the mayor just mentioned, this is something that the city and its citizens take very, very seriously. A long time ago, the Vikings sailed in the area of Aarhus. And since then, we have seen a harbor growing, and we have seen a population which so much integrates itself with the ocean. And this is not only something that goes for the city of Aarhus. Denmark has a long and wonderful stretch of coastline. We are among the countries in the world with the most coastline, and it's part of our history, it's part of our culture, it's part of our economy. And no matter where you are in Denmark, you will never have more than a little more than 50 kilometers to the sea. So you feel very close to the sea wherever you live in this country. And I can tell you that means more than just beautiful sunsets, even though we also appreciate them as well. It means that this small and prosperous country has received so much from the seas and the oceans over the years. Through fishing and trading, it has sustained a development that is unique. But it has also recognized the responsibility ahead of us. One of the most well-known symbols of Denmark, another writer than Karen Blixen, who is certainly also a very important part of our cultural heritage, Hans Christian Andersen, made the fairy tale about the little mermaid living in the ocean. And the story about that all we can see above the ocean is not the full story. There is so much to be told underneath the water. And we know a lot, but there is still so much more we need to understand. And this University of Aarhus, as was mentioned, is collaborating with private businesses on exactly this, finding out more about the ocean and also how we can protect it. For instance, when it comes to seaweed farms. And the Port of Aarhus is doing great work with biohuts, giving the ocean smaller creatures a home right here in the harbor itself. And I am very proud to say that the Danish government will propose a law on nature and biodiversity. And we have set a target of protecting 20% of the ocean, as well as strictly protecting 10%, meaning that these areas will become essentially undisturbed from human pressures. That is a very important step, which I hope others will follow. Because, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it is very good to speak about how we protect the ocean and to dream how we can protect the ocean. But it's not enough. If we are to make a real difference, if we are to make real change, if we are to protect what we love and what we cherish, action is needed. That action is part of the Ocean Race Summit. You show it not only on the boats, even though that is very impressive. You show it throughout the year, throughout your mission, and throughout your work. On behalf of the Danish government, a very warm welcome to Denmark, and I hope that this will be a tradition started here in Aarhus today that will be followed by many other visits, and that we can maintain the focus on this huge endeavor, which we all need to deliver on. Thank you so much, and all the best to all of you.
Thank you, Minister Vammen. Wow, indeed, we do have so much more to understand beneath the waves, and there's a lot of work to be done. And I also want to say that I'm a huge fan of The Little Mermaid, so I feel honored to be here in Denmark. Yes, it's a big part of my life. But anywho, to create lasting, effective change, we need science-informed policies. That's where it really begins. That's where the work lies. And understanding the ocean's vital signs is where we begin that work. It's crucial. I just want to take time to acknowledge our science coordinator who's in the room right now, Stefan Raymond. If you can wave your hand. He's the lead in charge of all of this and has done a tremendous job of leading our science program, so thank you. So we all need all hands on deck to gather scientific data, as we saw in this video, in remote places of the ocean. And it's admirable to see a sporting event, a purpose-driven sporting event like this, where athletes are contributing as citizen scientists. And the data that the sailors have collected so far have been eye-opening. For example, microplastics have been found in all 40 samples taken during this edition of the race. And even some of the most remote places in the ocean, including the Southern Ocean, we see microplastics in that place. So to tell us a little bit more about the science on board our vessels and the other vessels of opportunity, please help me welcome our speakers who are participating in the very first panel of the day. First off, I'd love to invite Roman Troublé, please. He's the General Manager of the Tara Ocean Foundation and have partnered with Biotherm, which is one of our racing teams. Welcome to you, Roman. Good to see you. I guess right here. Next, I'd like to welcome Leonardo Soncio. He is the Vice President of the Head Fleet Management and Technology at Maersk. Welcome, Leonardo.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good to see you. Next, we have Toshta Tanawa. He's a Senior Scientist at Geomar and Co-Chair of the Global Ocean Observation System. Welcome, Toshta. And finally, please help me welcome the skipper of Team Militia, Boris Herman. Great to see you all. Thank you for being here with us today at the Ocean Race Summit. We've got lots of questions to get through, and I'm sure lots of wonderful answers. So first off, I think, Boris, I'd love to start with you, because we're going to talk about sailing for a moment here. How was leg 5? And tell us about some of the highs and lows of the journey across the Atlantic.
Yeah, hello everyone. Leg 5 was a very fast one, fast-paced leg with different ocean impressions to us. The very cold Labrador current that comes down from the Arctic, which causes us also to have an ice gate to deviate us south, which probably many of you wouldn't expect at this time of a year, but there can still be ice on the Newfoundland banks. We have the Gulf current with warm waters, and then we sail into a very flat, nice Baltic Sea at the end. So we really have all the contrasts and colors and temperatures of the oceans with, that was a very rich leg, so to say.
Richard mentioned a couple exciting things that happened on this leg as well in regards to the race and the monohull 24-hour speed record challenge. Can you tell us a little bit about that? The speed record challenge.
Yeah, we had an exceptional weather window or weather situation during the main stretch across the Atlantic with 2 days of very constant wind, and that allowed us to break the 24-hour speed record of 641 nautical miles. And this is kind of lots of ingredients needed for that. Of course, a great boat and a good team, but it's really such a unique weather and oceanographic situation. You need the right waves, and the wind should not shift too much. If the wind changes too much in speed, you need to change your sail. You lose 15 minutes, and that would already mean you cannot break the record. So it was not only us breaking the record in the course of the race. It was first 11th hour, then Holcim, and then we were even like a fraction of a mile quicker at the end. So we were lucky to get it at the end. But all the fleet has been amazingly quick across the Atlantic.
Well, congratulations again. And your campaign with Team Militia is very, yes, round of applause. Now, your campaign with Team Militia has been about climate action now. You see it on the sail, it's very obvious, and you've also equipped the boat, as we saw in the video, with some science instruments that are going to help the climate science community. Can you tell us about the equipment that Team Militia is carrying? Because the teams are carrying different types of equipment.
Yes, we have seen already in the picture here, there's these kind of ocean labs in our boats, like a suitcase-sized box that is an fully automated laboratory on board, and it started quite a few years back that Toste and Stefan were working on it with the Ocean Race already in previous editions. And it happened actually at a speech that Toste gave in Kiel many years ago that we heard about it in the first time, and we came to him saying, oh, we also have a sailboat, can we participate? And at the time we were doing a different race around the world, the Vendée Globe. We equipped the boat with the same lab on the Vendée Globe with a focus on measuring ocean CO2. And now we have 2 traces around the planet from the Vendée Globe and from this ocean race. And we see huge differences there. And I like the science program or the science activities, this opportunity that we are given in this sport as a platform for 2 reasons. One is I think we can actually contribute to science, and Toste can probably explain better why this data is so difficult to come by in the Southern Ocean. There are just no vessels except us, basically. And the other thing is, us dealing with this helps us to learn about it ourselves in these exchanges with scientists or days like today, and I think really to reach out with a message. So the sport has a potential to create these emotions, to create attention, and to provide a platform to speak about something that for Toste to speak about from his lab with a scientific paper is sometimes much harder to get the attention from a broader public. And to put it in one phrase, what we're actually looking at is to measure the CO2 in the atmosphere. Science looks mainly at like this volcano in Hawaii, Mauna Loa. And there you can even see on the website every day how high the CO2 is. Like today it is 3 parts per million more than 1 year ago. So you can really precisely, because the atmosphere very well mixes the CO2, 433 or something parts per million today. I just looked it up when sitting there.
Oh, nice.
And in the ocean it's much more complex because the ocean takes stuff down and it takes hundreds of years to come through ocean currents to different destinations and come back up. So the CO2 cycle in the ocean is really so complex. That's why it's such an important contribution to provide more data.
Absolutely, and that's definitely a great collaboration between scientists and sailors. And Toste, I'd love to move on to you. Can you tell us a little bit about your previous experience with the Ocean Race and being involved for the last few years, but also the opportunity that you saw with the Ocean Race and other shipping and boating platforms to then gather scientific data?
Yeah, thank you, Danny. So I had the privilege to be part of the previous edition of the Ocean Race, and we had 2 boats with instruments during that race. And not only did they were able to collect really good data on carbon dioxide and microplastic, which was really useful for science and society to know about these things. But I think maybe what was more important was that we showed that it's possible, that we could get really high quality data on environmental factors from really high competitive race boats. And I'm sure Boris can tell you a story about how uncomfortable it is to be on this boat, how shaky it is, and what demands that puts on instruments. So by showing that we could get this data, we were able to engage more sailors, and my friend Boris has told you how that happened, and he came along and wanted to have an instrument on his boat, and other teams came along, and even cruiser sailors can come along and want to have measurements on the boat. And the crux of the matter is that we will never be able to understand and to measure the ocean to the extent that we need to do without working together. So we cannot send out really expensive research vessels or robots that we can control because they are too expensive. But there are many people out here that controls boats or other platforms in the ocean. And the particular thing about racing boats around the world is that they tend to take different routes than the commercial vessels. So if you're racing a boat, or Maersk is having a boat from Europe to North America, you're going to pretty much follow the rum line more or less. And this is really good for science. We get then a ship going back every 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I don't know how long it takes. And we get a really good seasonal and long-term coverage of that. But there's going to be big parts of the ocean that's not covered. And that's where the sailboats come in, because they're going to look at weather systems and other factors that's going to make their route quicker. So basically working together and combining different platforms give us an opportunity to cover the ocean with observations that we need. And I'm really happy to be part of this edition of the Ocean Race and see that every boat is doing some kind of measurements. And I'm also happy to see how IMOGA classes and other classes are developing and evolving and want to support ocean observing.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Toste. So there's another collaboration happening as well with foundations. So Roman, you're here as the general manager of the Tara Ocean Foundation, and you all have partnered with Biotherm, one of our other teams that are in the race. Can you tell us about what Tara Ocean Foundation is all about, what you're doing in regards to ocean health, and all the science on board?
Hello everyone, I'm happy to be here today. There's a link between the Tara Foundation. Tara Foundation is a 20 years old foundation work that is crisscrossing the planet with the Tara schooner, which was the former seamaster from Sir Peter Blake. So it links us very strongly to the Ocean Race story because of Peter Blake's involvement in the Whitbread in the past. And I'm very happy to be here for that. It's the first time the Tara schooner is in Denmark. She's in the harbor this time. And we try to explore the ocean to bring scientific teams on board the vessels, consortiums of labs. Sometimes many Danish laboratories from the Danish Polar Center, for instance, was involved with the project we are doing since 20 years. But many other laboratories around the world, in Germany, everywhere. And we try to better understand the marine life, biodiversity. And this is a huge ecosystem that is producing every services we use every day for our life. I mean, oxygen produced, carbon dioxide captured in the ocean, protein production. They transform sunlight into energy, into proteins, which is amazingly useful for us and for all ecosystems. And better understanding this is our key message, and also is it a platform for outreach and to share and this experience at sea, and that's what we try to do with these vessels.
Great, and we have a few images playing, looping behind us of some of the imagery on board your vessel. And are people able to go and visit while you're in port here, perhaps?
Yeah, sure. You're invited on board. Not all together. It's a small boat. But of course, you're invited on board whenever you want. It's a very interesting vessel, which is quite a different research vessel that we used to see with engines, big boats, very expensive. It's a very small vessel, very cost-effective vessel, but we can deploy it on one questions about the ocean for 2, 3, 4 years. Coral reefs, plastic pollutions. Now we are in Aarhus because we are launched a 2-year program along the coastlines of Europe to determine the impact of chemical pollutions on ecosystems. So we are sampling the Aarhus, Denmark coastlines, the sand on the coast with a truck, a team in a truck doing this sampling. And with the boat, we're also sampling the water in front and trying to see the link between these watersheds, runoff that you talked about, Mayor, and the impact it has. Try to objectivize this. Tara is an NGO, but we're really well driven into science, objectivations of numbers, facts, and bring this to the civil society. I was last 3 days in UNESCO for the UN United Nations Treaty on Plastic negotiations. And so the problems, most of the problems are in the ocean. Most of the solutions are on land in our decision making altogether. It's really the message that we need to understand better. Whatever happens in the ocean is governed by what we decide on land in our society, because we are at the center of it.
Which is a great point, because that means that we have more control over the solutions, rather than thinking the open ocean is just this vast place we can't access, but we can really make change right where we are. Thank you so much, Roman. So, Leonardo, let's move on to you. We've talked about racing vessels, we've talked about research vessels. Now, let's talk about shipping. You are part of one of the biggest shipping company in the world globally, Maersk, and you've seen a lot of your ships already fitted with scientific equipment. Where is Maersk when it comes to the space of science on board? What are you all currently doing?
Yeah, so by way of context, Maersk operates approximately 350 owner vessels in our network. And to give you some examples, we have been supporting mostly climate science. 61 vessels are currently fitted with automated weather stations, and all of the records are directly shipped to a central database that can be accessed by different weather organizations in the world, and can be used for, indeed, climate research. On top of that, in January 2022, we disclosed 10 years worth of weather observations, and this was done via the Global Ocean Observing System, which is run by UNESCO and World Meteorological Institute, and this actually represented 9 million records on weather records from the past 10 years. We are also participating to an initiative that is trying to understand the effects of methane oxidation in the Atlantic, and we are collecting air samples at a speed of around 60 samples per month, and currently we have already collected 450. So we are trying our level best to really be part of the research and supporting science such that we can understand better the phenomena happening.
Excellent, that's fantastic. So many data points being collected. I mean, with so many vessels on the water, that makes sense. Thank you very much. And Torstein, you're a part of, some of the shipping industry as well. You're leading an exciting new project called Shaping an Ocean of Possibility. How will that work with the shipping industry and ocean sports on a bigger level?
Yeah, Thank you very much. I'm really happy to announce today that we are starting up the innovation platform funded by the German government called Shaping and Ocean Our Possibilities for Science Industry Collaboration. And it's really about continuation of the work we have seen here. We need the data from non-scientific platforms to cover the ocean in a way that we need to do. But to make that happen, we really need two things. We need instruments and sensors that are easier to operate, that are cheaper, that are interoperable, that we can combine different kind of measurement units easily, and also have a common interface so we can talk to them and we can listen to them much better. Now we have a rapid development of sensing equipment. We can sense a lot of things, but this instrument typically produce very different data sets and they're very different to interoperate. So we want to work with industry to create a market for them to sell instruments. And the other part of the platform is to work with the operators like the Ocean Race or Maersk, for instance, to actually help them support installing the instrument, maintain them, make sure that the data are being delivered. You mentioned the cooperation that Maersk is doing with WMO, and that is a well-established system to get meteorological data, to get better weather forecasts. And we want to create the same thing for the ocean. Actually not just the ocean, but the water part of the ocean, to measure carbon dioxide, oxygen, and other variables in that. So this is kind of the start of Shaping an Ocean Possibility, and we're looking for partners in industry and society to forward this. And we are going to create this center in northern Germany to collect information and have innovation hubs and make this going forward. So if you're interested in contributing, be a partner of SOUP, as we call it, please contact me or my friends from the project.
Fantastic. Yeah, and there will be time later during the break, and hopefully people will come and connect and learn more. Fantastic. So Boris, why do you think it's important for the shipping and sailing community to get involved in science action?
Yeah, we already partly heard that there are just white territories on the map where there's no data, that ocean science is super important to better understand climate change. And so in the shipping industry, the initiative of Maersk is a great leading example, and I think other carriers are also working on this, and it's great if that gets enhanced and through your project probably facilitated, hopefully. And that's the aim. And then the scientists have a much more robust modeling of the development of the ocean and climate interface. And I think really our future as humanity lies in the ocean. We always, I think many people probably think climate change really about just the atmosphere, but I think really the ocean is such a big part of it because it captures all the heat energy of global warming, and that will have very long-term effects. If we put heat today in the ocean, we see the consequences in decades to come. If we put CO2 in the atmosphere now, it ultimately all ends up in the ocean. And our life depends on the ocean. They cover most of the earth, so that's just to underline how important the ocean science is for the whole understanding of climate change.
Absolutely.
And the importance of climate action.
Yes. Now, I understand that Team Malizia is also collaborating with several shipping companies and partners. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what you're hoping to achieve through that collaboration?
Oh yes, we have 3 partners supporting our team from the shipping industry, MSC, Hapag-Lloyd and Kühne Nagel. And all of them are, of course, concerned on one side with the decarbonization of shipping. That's an industry-wide, big and very fascinating discussion. Us being sailors, we, of course, are in their ears, and they find it annoying sometimes, with wind shipping. And wind shipping certainly is not an easy task, and certainly maybe not today for very big vessels. But wind shipping I find a fascinating venture for smaller vessels. We need to develop technology, prove it that it works, and see it as a fuel. There's a big discussion about what fuels to use to decarbonize, and the wind is one of the fuels we should also consider in the mix of fuels. I certainly don't believe that we will go back to traditional rigs and hemp rope and rusted hair on like wooden boats and sail across the Atlantic. That's not what we suggest, but use wind to reduce or to contribute to propulsion. And that's the one thing. The other thing is that all of these three companies are also looking into supporting science with through data collection.
Excellent, excellent. And Leonardo, I know there are many challenges when it comes to shipping because your crews are doing many other things, and then on top of that, collecting data. Have there been other challenges that you've noticed within data collection for your science programs?
I actually think that barriers are going down, and we should be doing more. Right? If you think about it, sensor technology is advancing very fast, costs are reducing over time, and in parallel to that, actually also there's a lot of advancement in satellite communication that is also becoming cheap. So this means that it's really feasible to collect a lot of data and ship data ashore such that it can be analyzed. I just give you a data point, right? Last year we deployed on majority of our fleet an advanced system to enhance our energy management on board. And every 10 minutes from every vessel we get massive data loads ashore that are used to actually drive performance improvement, right? And this 5 years ago was not possible. So I actually think barriers are going down and we should leverage technology a lot more.
Absolutely. And this is a sidebar question, but has AI played a role in helping you optimize your data collection?
More in terms of modeling of performance. So we have a much better understanding of what is the optimal performance of a hull in water against what is the actual, right? So we have a very thorough understanding of the opportunities for further improvement.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to Roman. Tell me a little bit about ocean rights. I want to shift our conversation there because we have a few minutes left. Tell me about why you think the ocean is an entity, perhaps, right? And does the ocean deserve rights written into law?
Maybe I just want to, before I reply to the answer, I just want to talk about what we do with the biotherm team today on the vessel.
Absolutely.
We try when we are in, the Tara model is to be private-public funding, so private funding and public research, open research. And since 5 years, Biotherm is a partner of Tara. And so when they started this project about the Ocean Race and the Vendée Globe and the earlier IMOCA project, we decided together what could we do in junction with what we do on Tara. So we deployed a sensor. This is very challenging because now we try to address the marine life, not only plastic or measurements, but now we try to take pictures of organisms that are very important into the carbon pump of the ocean. So they are very happy, very hard things. And on board the vessel, we have deployed an automated microscope that takes millions of pictures every 20 minutes. But these are not boats. Huh? They are slamming vessels, flaming a lot. Accelerations are crazy. And when you talk about lasers, alignment, and technology like this, very fine tuning, it's very hard to get challenging to get the machine running for the long term. So that's a very challenging tool, but I'm sure that we are nearly there. We are still, the last leg was 90% covered, so it's pretty good. And but we still need to do some fine tuning of it. It's very high technology. These are prototypes, so it's very interesting. But what we get is what is aligned with what we get on Tara. So it's a very nice comparison, and it gives, as Boris said, other species on the planet that we can get some feedbacks from on the biology side. So very important. And of course, for the racing partners, it's an investment. It's not a small investment. It's a very courageous investment, and I would like to say Biotherm a big bravo for having put such an amount of money on the table to deploy this on the IMOCA. That's one. For the ocean rights.
Ocean rights, yes.
First, I would like to say bravo to the Ocean Race management and all your partners about the leadership you have managed to get around this concept and these new ideas of giving the ocean the rights, like human rights, like ocean rights. I think the nature rights in global is a growing field of science, of economic science, and also policy. I think it's a very good idea. We need to find out how to plug it into the UN very kind of sometimes too much formatted discussions and negotiations. But I think the first step is to inspire And what you do with the Ocean Race is fantastic because it's an inspiration for other concepts. How can we change the way we look at the ocean, change the way we involve the ocean into our policy globally. So, like even making, why not, the ocean a state in the future.
Yes, yes. And from a similar science perspective, Toshta, what do you think about ocean rights and should it be written into law?
Well, I think certainly that the ocean should have a right. We need to protect the environment, and on land we typically do that by laws and environmental laws, and in Denmark we've seen how they are progressing that. And the ocean doesn't really have that. Some part of the ocean is part of a nation, so there are some laws in that, but most of the ocean is actually what we call beyond natural jurisdiction. So, but half of our planet is beyond natural jurisdiction, and that's poorly protected. So I think from a non-lawyer perspective, it would make a lot of sense to give the ocean rights to defend themselves or itself to that. And I would like to just say a few words about the value of this observation that we do. And let me focus on carbon dioxide. So as you know, Boris and others and 11th hour are measuring carbon dioxide. Why are you doing that? Yeah, because the ocean is taking up about a quarter of the anthropogenic carbon dioxide emissions. That's about 10 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year that the ocean takes up and helps us mitigate climate change. Now, how much is that worth? Economists give a little bit of different answers on how much a ton of carbon dioxide costs in societal cost of carbon. So the extra cost to society by more carbon. But a number of about 100 euros per ton is roughly in the right ballpark. And I like to make this back on the envelope calculations, much easier to do than write a long scientific paper. But if you have 10 billion tons and 100 euros, that makes it trillion euros. So we're talking about a trillion euro question annually. So you can question yourself, how much is it worth to you to understand the magnitude of that problem? Now we have about a 25% uncertainty in that number. Is it worth to invest a few million to get that number down a bit and understand the sink of carbon dioxide more? That's a question. And I think the answer is yes. We'll never be able to reach our climate goal globally unless we have a good understanding of the numbers. You cannot manage what you cannot measure. Thank you.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Thank you. Leonardo, do you have something to add on to there coming from an industry? I know that it obviously works with economics.
Yeah, and it's really on the topic of decarbonizing our industry, right? So as a context, shipping contributes with about 3% in terms of CO2 equivalent emissions. And we must be part of the solution. In 2018, Maersk announced its climate neutrality goals, first in the industry, and thereafter, actually in 2022, we realized that we could be faster on that. So in essence, we are aiming at being climate neutral across all our businesses by 2040, and by 2030 have already halved our emission against the 2020 baseline. This is bold, and also because a number of solutions are just not there. And we are in a very, very crucial moment. In a few weeks from now, we're going to take delivery of the first ever vessel that will operate on green methanol. The vessel will sail from Korea and reach Copenhagen in September. And this is not just a vessel. It's a symbol of what is possible and what we must do as an industry.
Wow, that's monumental. Thank you for sharing that news. Do you want to add something on?
Yeah. Bravo for this innovation. I think also that between now and the time where all these vessels will be carbon neutral, I think we should work on the slowing down of the speed of all the commercial ships of the planet, all together, not one thing or the other, but I would dream that IMO, UN, United Nations Agency for Shipping Management, put the ceiling in the speed of vessels. Because you reduce by 20% the speed, you reduce by 40% the carbon dioxide emissions. In the short term, I think it would be a very nice move to ask for. But coming back to the nature of the ocean rights, I think what is behind this is that then if we think about this idea in the longer term, it means that in the future, the protection of the ocean will be the norm. And whenever you want to do an activity, or you want to have an activity in the ocean, you will have to prove that it's not harming the rights of the ocean. You reverse the burden of proof. Today we spend ages, years to protect species of ocean because we need to advocate for it. Let's think about, okay, let's protect everything and then advocate whenever you want to do something in the ocean. It's a food for thoughts, but then with this ocean rise will come this kind of ideas. We full protect everything, and when we want to fish, we say that the fishing we do is not harming the CO2 or the ocean ecosystems. Let's think about that.
Thank you very much, Roman. Yes, a more comprehensive view is necessary for the ocean. Now we've got just a minute left, Boris, if you'd like to finish us off with your perspective on ocean rights as a sailor and as someone who has spent a lot of time on the ocean.
Yeah, I find it's a fantastic initiative of the Ocean Race, and it's a privilege for us to be a participant in a race and practice a sport that is not only about sport, but it's a race with purpose, and they fill this slogan with concrete actions, which are the scientific activities, also the youth outreach educational program, and then this political, highly ambitious and inspirational concept, which is certainly a very complex matter, but it shows the visionary strength and ambition of the race organizers, and we appreciate that very much as competitors.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for your perspectives. Please, a round of applause for all of our panelists today. Thank you for sharing your passion, and we look forward to seeing all the continuations of all the great projects that you're working on, so thank you very much. Excellent. And Boris, also wishing you and Team Militia all the best on the next leg. Thank you all. Now, we're going to move on to an exciting part of our program, the Relay for Nature, which is an initiative that was started by the Ocean Race and Peter Thompson, who is the UN Secretary General's Special Envoy for the Ocean. The ocean still receives far too little attention from world leaders as a climate hero, and the Relay for Nature was created for that, to give the ocean a voice on critical issues affecting the planet at landmark events, usually related to the United Nations, where decisions are made for the environment. Now, please help me welcome Rosalind Cooper, who is a crew member with Team Militia, who brought nature's baton all the way from Newport, Rhode Island, here to Aarhus. Now, just let us know, how does it feel to hold this baton? What was it like taking it across the Atlantic?
Yeah, for us to bring this baton from the USA to here meant quite a bit. It was supposed to be for Guyot, but they couldn't do it, so it was the second time for us. And I think, as you could see in the video, like we spread this message with all of us. And like we, as sailors, we're so connected with the ocean, right? If you see the last 5 months since the start of the race, I spent with my team over 90 days at sea. And we are the ones who really see the ocean, who are connected with the ocean. And I think it's like, as everyone here, we are all very aware of that we need to protect this ocean. And for us, bringing this baton from A to B will not change the ocean, but the message we can deliver with this baton can change the ocean. If you look outside, you see the sea, right? And the sea is like the lungs of the earth. And luckily, we are all very aware of this. I decided mainly after this race that I will keep on spreading this message the rest of my life. And I want to thank all of you to be here because we cannot change the ocean now just with this baton, but we can change the ocean by keeping on spreading the message and inspiring our generations and the younger generations to make a little change and just save this beautiful sea, what you see out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosalind. That's beautiful. We appreciate your inspirational message. Now we're going to pass the baton along to all of our guests on stage, and you can say a few words about what you're feeling right now. Richard, we'll
My
start
turn.
with you.
No, I think this baton stands for so much, and you should know that powerful people like Rosalind that has held on to this has loaded it with good thoughts for the ocean and for the future. You can actually open it. So inside there are messages from presidents from others that are passing their messages on across the world. So to me, yeah, to me today it really stands for that the solution to anything is salt water. Finance Minister.
Let this baton be a sign that we should fight as hard for the ocean as the ocean fights for us. So, with that, I will pass the baton.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot for me to stand with this in my hand. I love the ocean, as I bet all of you do here. Living in Denmark, you're never far from the ocean, as I said earlier. No more than 50 kilometers. Quite often we take it for granted, which we should never do. I have lived in the UK, I have lived in New Zealand, I have lived in the Middle East, and I've so many times seen all the devastating things that we as human beings are doing to the ocean. And if there was an easy fix to it, I bet we would have done it by now. So for me, this is really a symbol of coming together, making sure that partnerships, collaboration is the way forward to deal with all the challenges that lies ahead of us. I do represent a startup organization based out of Aarhus, so my encouragement today is really work with the startups, bring the research that we've heard so much about, bring it to the startups, see how we can come up with new solutions, because they're not there today and we need to fight for them. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here today. So, being a sailor, a navigator, I can say from my heart, from my experience, the oceans are connecting us, connecting continents, connecting nations, connecting people. And they do so now, and they've been doing so through all times. So, for me, protecting the ocean, it's not a choice. For us who have been out there, it's not a choice. It is what we do by instinct. We do it because we feel how vital the ecosystem and the climate is for us and for all people. So, being a sports leader, I know that sport communities, they have the power to change culture. They have the power to shape social norms, values. They can influence politics. They can fuel innovation. We are the leaders, we are the navigators who have the ability and the obligation to set a course for the future. A course that is inspiring the world to always act sustainable and always protect the environment. Always protect the oceans. That's my ambition, that's our ambition, that's what we do.
Thank you, Hans. Perfect. Now on to Esta.
So, I'm here on behalf of the Youth Summit, and the hope is that this Youth Summit raise a voice for the ocean. And hopefully when it ends, all the attendees will go home at each their country all over the world and will be ambassadors for the ocean and its rights. So that is my hope and my message with this baton.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We've heard from sailors, scientists, and industry leaders so far about the importance of ocean rights and research, but why is it important to you? And that's my question to you today. I know you're just getting to know me and our team, but we have that main question because we want to know what drives you to love the ocean. When you think of water in general, what brings you peace? Where is your favorite place to experience water? And what is that one word that can help you describe that feeling that you have when you're near water? My word is liberation, because I always feel at home in the ocean, especially when I'm scuba diving like this and also dancing. Underwater is my favorite place to be. This concept of the blue mind, it was created by an author, a New York Times bestselling author named Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, who happens to be a friend and mentor of mine. And he describes this intrinsic benefit of being in, near, or around water as a human being. And so now I'd like to invite you to explore what your own blue mind moment is, and that word. What's the word that you would use to describe your experience in the ocean or in any body of water, whether it's a lake, stream, or river, and how does it make you feel? Think of that word, and I'd love for you now to turn to your neighbor, somebody you don't know, and just let them know what that word is and why. So if you can share that, we'll just take 90 seconds to do it. We got to talk to each other. We're sitting next to each other, right? Okay, does everybody have their word? Yes? Okay. Would anyone like to share what word that is? We've got a roaming mic with Andrea right here. What's your word to describe your experience in water? You might just have to move around, Andrea. Just slide around. Yep. Anybody? What is it? What words? There we go. Thank you, Johan.
No, we said instinct.
Instinct. That's a good one. Excellent. What else? What other words?
Discipline.
Discipline. That's a good one. Okay. Anything else?
Freedom.
Freedom. Yes. Woo.
Content.
What was that?
Content.
Content. Love it. Anybody else? One more.
Creativity.
Creativity. Love that. I love all those words. Thank you very much for entertaining me for a moment. Thank you. We'll meet back here in 15 minutes. Thank you all so much.